Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 62nd episode of Dragon Quest Slime Time, an official Dragon's Den podcast. This is your host, Liamland.
And this is your guest, Platty M3.
That's right. I think this is actually the first time I'll be interviewing you since our very first episode. So thanks for joining live via Hurricane Ian. How you holding up?
Pretty good. You know, it finally passed us by. It's now slamming into my sister's house in Charleston before it heads into the mountains of North Carolina, where my parents are staying. So it's turned into a lovely family affair.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, you did get some time off from work, even though, you know, some of the other parts of Florida are getting it slammed a little bit more than I think where you are. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, we're well west of Orlando, and it didn't even go there. It kind of hit the bottom of the state and popped out south of where we were. So we got a lot of tropical storm winds for about a full day, but our house itself, like, we have nothing. There's literally, we took a picture of one branch down, I think about 12 hours into it, and the branch is like 12 inches long, and we're like, well, there's our damage. But even our neighborhood, there's a couple like just little sections of fence that blew out, but not much at all.
Yeah. You lost internet at one point?
Yeah. Yeah, that's we live in the back of a 500 home community,
mm-hmm.
and like the 450 homes at the front end by the US highway all get their power from the power lines down the highway.
Yeah.
And we're in the way back, and our power comes in through the back and goes through other neighborhoods, and it's all buried cables. And anytime there's power loss, it's always the people out front, because something happens to the main power lines down this main highway. And our internet comes from that direction, though. Even though we're split off with a different company for power, we get our internet for there. So, yeah, the front of the neighborhood lost power for about 18, 20 hours, and that's about how long our internet was out. But the second they got their power turned on, our internet came on. So
it's crazy how, like, just in the modern age, like, having your internet being out for 18 hours is just like devastating. You're like, what am I going to do?
Oh.
I'm chewing up so much data on my phone.
Yep. God, I remember. So Hurricane Charlie hit Orlando like dead on, and it was 18 years ago, because 2004 in August, and we were at a school for 10 days, I want to say, maybe 8 days. And I mean, Orlando was just smacked. It hadn't been hit in 50 years or something like that. And again, where we were, I was living on a golf course in a big apartment community, all buried cables around there and everything. We never lost power, didn't even flicker. But I was without internet for 7 or 8 days. I just started going to school and hanging out at school just to have modern conveniences.
I'm reminded of that South Park episode where the internet goes down, and the news companies are like, there's no internet to tell us why there's no internet. And everyone, it just becomes like the grapes of wrath. Like, they're just going across country to find internet.
Nice.
All right. So what else is going on?
So this was a great story that I was telling about you last night. I was recording an RPG Backtrack episode for RP Gamer, where I co-host a podcast over there. And one of our staff members was on, and we're chatting with him afterwards. And he had his Skype video on, and we're like, wow, man, what a really nice recording area you have. And he's like, oh, no, I work for a satellite company, and like, this is our like recording booth. He goes, I just stayed at work to do it. And we're like, oh, damn, we thought that was your house. That was like, looked like he had a huge soundboard and a TV behind him that like almost filled the screen, black walls and everything. We're like, that's really nice. And so we get to talk about like where we record and everything. And I mentioned you and how you were in a little apartment when we first started this in New York, and had to record in the blanket fort at night to muffle the sounds of the family and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, a blanket fort? I've done that. And he was telling me about how, when the pandemic hit, they all went to work remotely, but, you know, they're still recording radio content. And he moved in with his brother for a while, and brother had kids, and he goes, I just set up a blanket fort over the kitchen table, and they'd have the kids in the other room or whatever. He's like, it was really great. It was like soundproof and everything. He says, and I'd emerge like 5 pounds lighter from a 5 or 6 hour shift every day from under that thing, just sweat it all out.
I have a lot of mostly fond memories of that first year we were recording. And just, we had moved into a new apartment right around the time we started the podcast. And I realized the only room I could record in had this giant echo. So then that was like, I think it was it was just an improvised thing that I did for our first record, which I think might have been the third episode. So
I remember talking to the translators, and you mentioned that you were in a
I had the new microphone, and I was in a new room, and the new microphone was actually so much better than the DJ headphones I had before, and the quality is much better, but the adverse side of having improved recording quality was that it was picking up all of this echo in the room. So I had to kind of figure something out super quick, and that was it. Just throw together a bunch of blankets onto some of the dining room chairs that I then moved into the room and create this blanket for it. So yeah, that became a thing. I'd just be sweating like crazy under that thing until I realized that when we moved again that I didn't need to be doing that anymore. But I had been maybe like 5 or 6 records in when I was like, wait a minute, there's no echo in this room now. So the big news to hit yesterday is that Stadia is sunsetting. Google
Peace
Stadia.
out.
Yeah,
didn't even know you.
Yeah, it was yeah. We didn't have much time to get to know each other, but as Denizen Silver Aphelion pointed out on Discord, this will be the first version of Dragon Quest XI in the West that will be unplayable.
Other than the 3DS version?
Well, no, in the West.
That never came.
West. Yeah.
So it's one that came and went.
Yeah.
The first one to come and go. There we go.
Right.
Yeah,
one that was the first one available in the West that actually will not be able to play anymore. So.
Following in the great footsteps of what was that mobile game? The Dragon Quest of the Stars.
I was going to say Dragon Quest Wars, but I think that's actually still maybe available.
Not for long, but it's close.
And the Switch version of not Switch version, the Wii version of Dragon Quest X. I think there was wasn't there like a demo that was available for the Wii that's no longer playable?
Correct.
All right.
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, anyway,
but that one didn't come to the West, so.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we should come up with a list and stuff we got that's no longer available versus the stuff that we just never got. But anyway, so let's talk about Perler Bead art. So I had the chance to actually do some of this over the summer with my son when we were visiting New York, and it was a ton of fun. And I'd love to do more of it, but I have a 2-year-old who will probably eat most of the beads, so I'm going to wait until she's a little bit older to reintroduce that. But so how did you get into doing Perler bead art, and what was your first project?
So I want to say it was my mother-in-law that bought like a kit, because they've got so many kits, and they've even got partners with lots of companies, and she bought a kit of, I want to say, superhero logos. Mm-hmm. Like the Superman and Batman and all that. I'm pretty sure it was DC that she had when they moved nearby to us about 4 or 5 years ago, and had it. And the kids just never really wanted to do it when they were over there. Then again, my son was, let's say 4 years ago, would have been, age 2 and age 5. So not exactly the best time to do it, although my 5-year-old was kind of liked it. But my wife went out and then bought a couple books, and they look like a notebook, a spiral notebook, where you can just flip it and easily turn it back so it can lay flat with the spirals. But they have all these books for Perler that you can buy and just set those little clear plates on the book and then look straight down, and you can see exactly where to put the colors. And I want to say the superhero ones came with pieces of paper like that, because it was a little bucket probably for like $10 that you could build Superman, Batman, Flash, Green Lantern, just like 5 or 6 of them out of the bucket, and it had all the pieces for those. And it was really easy to do. I mean, my 5-year-old son could do it, and I was like, ooh, I'll do 1 or 2. And of course, seeing these immediately, I'm like, what if I could just do something more fun, something I actually care about? Sorry, Green Lantern. But I was like, I could probably do a slime or something like that. That seems small enough and simple enough. So I think we picked up, like, there's a big tub. It's like 30,000 pieces for like $20. And it's just 10 colors all just mixed in there off Amazon. And I did a slime, and then I was like, ooh, what else could I do? And I want to say I started this in 2018, And so that was right after, because when did we get Dragon Quest 11? 2017 in the West, or was it 2018?
Was it 2019?
Oh, I think we got 2019 was the S version. You're right, because that's when we started the podcast. And I remember we talked to, what was it, Sack Chief in like the 6th or 7th episode, and we had him talking about the differences between
That's right.
the Switch version. Okay, so it was 18. So it was right when Dragon Quest 11 came out for the first time. And even though we didn't have a version in the States that had the pixel art, there was the Japanese version. So I was like, oh, yeah, look at this. I can go on a Japanese website. And plus, they've had it for a year. And the 3DS version had the sprites. And they were like the perfect size to fit on.
This is the 2D
boards. The 2D
sprites.
Yeah, the 2D sprites. So it took me at the time, I want to say, from between October and Christmas, I did the entire Dragon Quest 11 party.
Nice. Yeah, it's great because the don't they have the different? I haven't actually fully explored the 2D version, but I think they have the different lands.
They have the outfits.
You could actually go back to like a map where you can see like the Dragon Quest 7 and Dragon Quest 8 characters in 2D form, which we hadn't seen before.
Not all of them. When we get to 8,
not all.
No, like 8, you only see Jessica. Jessica's the only one pictured.
Oh wow, no Yangus? Denied.
No Yangus. Nope.
Oh, wow. All right. So how did you come across the Yangus sprite though? Because you didn't you make the entire cast?
I did, except for Mori. So looking at it, I want to say I know I got Jessica right off Dragon Quest 11S. That was either my screenshot or somebody else's. But the hero and Angelo and Yangus, I either found them online from somebody or adapted them from ones that looked very similar. God, there's a lot of people out there that take like the Mega Man sprites. Mega Man's a very simple one and turn it into.
Yeah. That was actually my first.
Just saw. Yep.
Yeah,
I saw Dragon Quest 8 hero as Mega Man, just recolored.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there's so many possibilities with all the different Mega Man bosses and everything. I think the actual first Perler Bead art that I owned is one that I actually purchased from a fellow Dragon Quest fan named Daisy, who actually, let me actually pull up her Twitter account because she actually does sell them, her projects at Daisy_Shelley with 3 Y's at the end. So she actually made me a magnet man with magnets on the back of it, so that now I can say I have a magnet man of Magnet Man.
Nice.
and this is my first actual Perler experience. So when it showed up, it was pretty big. And what I didn't realize until I started doing them is that that's the smallest you can make them, because each bead is essentially like 1 pixel, right? Is that
correct?
How you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's how I do it.
Yeah, so they actually come out that large. If you were, you couldn't get it any smaller unless you're sacrificing detail. So cool.
Which is a problem I'll talk about looking at the list of questions we got. Like that's it's tough. Like the DS remake and the Super Nintendo sprites. The walking around, like the overworld sprites for both the DS remakes and the just the Super Nintendo versions of like 1, 2, and 3, and 5 and 6, obviously. All of those are perfect. Like they are great. Anything, and it's just the overworld sprites. Anything else, like battle sprites, even a battle sprite with a slime, you start getting like, holy crap, this is way too many pixels.
Oh wow! All right. So what was your favorite project to work on?
Just one I did a couple months ago when we got back from our big trip, end of July, beginning of August, before school started. I was like, ooh, we sat down, and we'll go through periods here where I don't make anything for a couple months, and then like one weekend we'll pull it out. And then my wife will make a few Disney princesses. The kids will make a few Pokemon. And I sit there doing Dragon Quest all weekend. And I did the Dragon Lord, Hargon, and Malroth all in one weekend. And they're huge. Malroth is like 12 inches across by like 9 inches. Hargon's like 9 by 9. And the Dragon Lord's a little bit skinnier. He's maybe like 5 inches wide by 9 inches tall.
Yeah.
They're all huge, and I know my wife took one look at them because she does all the ironing mostly. And she's like, seriously, I got to iron those things. And I was like, it's fine. It's fine.
And now they're part of our furniture forever.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, I really liked trying to do something way bigger. I think a scorpion is the biggest, and a grandpa slime were the biggest ones I'd had in the past. Everything else fits on those little like 29 by 29 normal square plates that Perler has. But my wife had wanted to do some things that were bigger. She sells like Disney princess ones on her Etsy store, and she was looking. She's like, "Oh, they make ones that are like I don't know, like 16 inches by 10 inches wide." And the last time we placed a big order, we got like 5 of those off Perler.com. I think we picked one up at Michael's, and I'm like, "Oh, look at this." And then it was like, "No, we need more of these." So once we had more of them, I was like, now I can build bigger.
Awesome. Can you walk us through your process for starting a project?
So other than, gosh, I think like the ones that I kind of freestyled the most were Malroth and the Builder from Dragon Quest Builders 2, because I asked my kids at one point, what do you want? And I had named the Builder in Builder 2 after my youngest son, and he's like, I want me, make me. And I'm like, oh God, there's no sprites of Dragon Quest Builders 2. And I took some of the box art and like ran it through a pixelator online, which is a horrible idea. And then at least it gave me dimensions. And from there, I had to like go in and just make the details, because you can't do every detail on these things. If you're building them like 30 pixels tall, you know, you can't, it's hard to have a button on your shirt.
Right.
Let alone a necklace. A necklace comes out to be like 2 beads or something like that. So other than freestyling those, everything else, I'm just mainly looking up in-game sprites or adapting from a bigger sprite down. Great places I go to look, the Spriters resource website, spriters-resource.com. I mean, that's got stuff from literally hundreds of different games on there. Even PlayStation 2, 3, gosh, you can look at their Wii U, Genesis, Master System, mobile games, arcade games. They've got everything on there. More Dragon Quest, and they've got a lot of the SNES and DS Dragon Quest stuff on there, NES too. But then there's a more specific Dragon Quest site called realmofdarkness.net. They've got full sprites sheets for, again, everything from the NES, SNES, DS era, and those are all great. And a lot of times I'll look on DeviantArt. Just random Googling has usually taken me there. I found a guy there who had done a grandpa slime, and now he had followed pixel for pixel, and it was huge. I just took one look at it, and I'm like, oh my God, first off, I don't want to use like 700 green beads to get the face of Grandpa Slime and everything. So I kind of reduced his to make it, I think it was the first one I ever did on a big board, but I kind of reduced his almost by half. It was like, okay, so this can be this, it can be this, this can be this. And it took a lot of playing around to get that, but it was definitely off of somebody from DeviantArt. So between those three, and, you know, just using anywhere else there's sprites or pixel art, I'll search around. The Dragon Quest 8 cast, like I was saying before, you know, Jessica was Jessica from Inside, but the other ones I just all found. And even Red, which you and I were talking about today, I was like, wait a minute, I don't even know who this is. I couldn't remember, like, looking at the sprite, and it was Red, and it's from somebody on DeviantArt like 8 years ago. Just made a bunch of sprites of her, and I was like, oh, that works. I know for Dragon Quest X, Austin Erevar sent me an image. They had a whole pixelated happy 5th anniversary or something to the game. And it had just, I want to say, almost 100 pixelated pictures of all the characters. Just tons of different people, NPCs and whatnot. So I've got 4 of them from there. One of them's one of the main characters, one of the sages or mages that kind of guide you along the way. But then I've just got, you know, random ogre, and I got 2 other of the race there too. Awesome. Poplio or something like that, the little green guys.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And then I got one of the Weddies, I believe.
Cool. So how long does it take you to finish a project on average?
So the vast majority of these I can do in about an hour. If it fits on a normal base plate, it's an hour. And And if I don't have to go in there and make a lot of substitutions, like the Dragon Quest 11 ones being my first ones, first of all, they took me a while because I was like, oh, what am I doing? I'm just copying pixels off the screen, but this is hard. But at the same time, I didn't have a lot of colors back then. I had maybe the 10 colors that came in the big pack and maybe a couple others. But yeah, I had a very limited color palette back then.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I think we're close to 100 colors in our household now.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I found challenging too, is that I didn't quite have the right kind of flesh tone color for Mega Man or for the Dragon Warrior 1 hero, and it just ended up looking like they just had a tan. I think that the skin tone is kind of pinkish in the actual Dragon Quest 1 hero, so I kind of went with that. But what's the what do you typically do when you don't have the right color?
We go out and buy more. Or you got to do what you got to do. You find, if they've got a pink face and you don't have pink, you use the closest flesh tone to that you got.
Yeah.
But no, we've gone out and bought tons and tons and tons of Perler beads over the years. I think we had just kind of bought whatever was at the local store up until when the pandemic hit, and we were up in the mountains right in April or March of 2020 when everything started getting locked down, and we had brought our Perler beads with us knowing that we were going to be up there for like 10-12 days, and it was the first time we were going to be up in my parents' vacation house without them there. So we're like, we're going to need something to do at night and keep the kids busy. And my wife ended up doing all the evolutions from Pokemon. And I think she did that, and I did all the starters from Charmander, Charizard, and Charmeleon in the middle. And like, she had her 9 evolutions. I had my 9 Gen 1 starters and evolutions. And we're like, well, this was fun. And then we get home and we're in lockdown. We're like, well, what the hell? Let's go online. And that was our first box of $100 plus of Perler beads that we got mailed to us. And that was awesome because it was like, holy crap, every color they make is right there.
Yeah, that's a fantastic use of lockdown time.
So yeah, it really ratcheted up since then.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to get this going again, but I can't guarantee, because one of the things we did too, because it gets a little messy, and I was walking around for days and just picking these things up out of my feet, like they'd just walking around, they're getting stuck under my feet. And no matter how we try, we had a tray that we put on the table and we did the projects on the tray, but still there'd be beads that get scattered everywhere. So I just needed to figure out a way to do these projects without the mess and without my daughter chowing down on them, because she's 2, but she's still at the age where even just to like prank me, she'll be like, I'm gonna eat it. So you talked a little bit about how big most of the projects end up being. Like, what's the biggest board that you've gotten, besides that you said you had the 29 by 29?
Yeah, those are the standard ones, and the vast majority of things I've built have been that, or if they're 3 or 4 pixels taller, I'll like put a second one because they're made to link together. And then when you iron it all, they're fine. But yeah, some of the bigger ones lately, like I said, I did like a Dragon Quest 1 Scorpion, and I actually used the like in-game battle sprite, which is much bigger. Like looking at it now, it's almost like 4 of my Dragon Quest 11 sprites. You just kind of put those 4 in a square. And then I've got Grandpa Slime, and of course Dragon Lord, Hargon, and Malroth are all huge, but these are big boards. I want to say they're something like 50 wide and something like 70 pixels tall. You can do, or turn it. It's 50 by 70 either way, and that's as big as I've gone. That Malroth one I have is the size of the Dragon Lord and Hargon put together, and I took pretty much every pixel. His wings went side to side. His wings are a little straight at the end instead of more tapered, because that was the size of the board. I was like, this is already big, and my wife's looking at me, and I'm not going to put 2 of our big boards together to do that. Like, first of all, I didn't think I could carry it without dropping that and making a mess, but I was like, first off, my kids are going to probably snap some of these damn things off if I make it too big anyway. So I mean, they're not exactly delicate, but when you start getting like a leg that's only had to get held together by like 3 pieces
Right.
as it
Yeah,
stretches out, that's
that's got to
yeah.
be a challenge too, and just making sure you can reinforce it enough so that
Yep.
it's not going to snap right off. So what's the largest project you've ever worked on?
It's that Malroth one.
Yeah.
That
How long did
definitely
that
took
one take?
about 5 hours one night. I
Wow.
want to say I started. I think I made Dragon Lord while my wife and kids were watching a movie from like 7 to 9,
Mhm.
and as the kids were getting ready to go to bed around 9 o'clock, I'm like, I'm gonna see if I can ratchet it up. I did Hargon yesterday, Dragon Lord. Let me see if I can do Malroth, and I found a couple different versions. Of him from like the original DQ2 and then like the Super Nintendo remake, and both of them were too big and both of them were slightly different. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just kind of combine these and kind of do the tones I have, and I got to check his waist size and everything,
Mhm.
and if this will actually fit on the damn board. So I finished around 2 in the morning.
Wow.
So at 9 p.m. to 2 in the morning, a
Yeah.
5 hour build.
That's impressive. Let's see. What's the best? You mentioned that your wife helps with the ironing part. What's the
Mm-hmm.
best ironing technique to keep your project from melting too much or breaking apart? To
Um,
be honest, I didn't feel confident with the ironing myself, so my mom was helping myself and my 5-year-old with it.
So I've since taken to doing this at my summer camps. I'll hold like a makerspace kind of related summer camp where the kids can just come in and build with all these different things. And I'll always have perler beads there. And if you want, I'll put some stick-on magnets on the back or punch a little hole in it if I've ironed too hot and give it a keychain. So I've done it a bunch too, but usually we've got it down to a science here. My wife will iron and she'll for anything small, like if it's on a small board, she
Mhm.
can press hard enough, and she's got it now where she's confident she can press hard enough that you get a full pixelated look to it. There's no more holes in the perler
Wow.
beads. It is one smooth
Mhm.
surface. Um,
Yeah.
and when she started getting that down, what we started realizing is we were warping the boards that you build on
Yeah, I noticed that
because
happen
you're
with the one my
holding that.
son. Yeah,
Yep,
my
you're
son
holding
used
that
one
in
of
there too
those.
long.
It wasn't quite a board as much as like one of the ones that was like a shape. So it was like a
Mm-hmm.
dolphin.
Oh, we've got yep.
Yeah. So then he put all the it was like a multicolored dolphin because it was his first build and he was just being artistic about it. And he when we did it, it definitely warped the board. Unlike the plates, the 29 by 29 plates that I had, which seemed to be a lot more durable.
And yeah, I think those are made more durable. They're a little bit thicker plastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so our process now is my wife will do the ironing. The second she irons one side and gets that nice pixelated look for the most part down, she pulls it off, lets it cool for a couple seconds before she does the other side just lightly. She'll do the back a little bit.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Uh,
Yeah.
Not
So,
much at all, just enough to kind of get them to hold together.
right. Okay.
And while she does that, I take that base place board and I've got a piece of wood about 28 inches by like 12 inches. And I set those, any of the plates that she does, I put them under that piece of wood.
Mhm.
And then when she's done with the figure, we wrap it in, not really wrap it, kind of just set it in between pieces of aluminum foil. And
Yeah.
then I put a book on that. So the book's sitting on top of the figure.
Mhm.
That's all sitting on top of this piece of wood on our kitchen counter. And all the plates are underneath it because, yeah, if they start warping, they're hot.
Mhm.
And if I can cool them down while they're flat, we can save them. We've thrown plenty enough of those away throughout the years. And
Mhm.
I think we did that long before we realized this long before we got the big ones. I want to say Malroth warped our big board, one of our big boards a bit, just because it took her so long to iron like the whole thing. He's such a huge thing. She's
Yeah.
like trying to iron the tail and iron the hands. By the
Uh-huh.
time I got it, it was already cooling down in areas, and I'm like, oh, I put it under a board and it now bows in the middle.
Yeah. And
But
you're using the like the thin paper over the
yeah,
top of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
We bought a roll of it, I think, from the store one day, like because it's not quite wax paper,
Yeah.
but it's similar to that, like parchment paper, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like
and
tracing
yeah,
paper.
they had yep.
Yeah.
And Perler, yeah, I don't know if it was online or at the store. We got like a roll of it for $7 because once we started doing the bigger ones, you could notice because like all the little Perler sets come with a bunch of folded up pieces of paper in them.
Mhm.
But as you start pressing harder, like literally the fold in that paper can make a line in the Perler bead pattern. So we're like, no, it's time to step up our game and just buy the roll of 100 feet of it
Nice.
for like $8.
So do you have a recommended Perler Bead supplier?
So if you're in the States, you probably live somewhere where there's like a craft or hobby shop like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Joann's around you. Uh, all of those places have ridiculous coupons like every week. And I signed up for their apps and their emails, and every week it's like, hey, 50% off one item, 30% off your whole purchase, 40% off your whole purchase, kind of coupons. And that's how we did it for about a year and a half. We were just, like, oh, we're out of black. Let's wait till that coupon comes around and just stop on the way home from work. And hey, I'll buy 6,000 black pieces. It's like a $12.99 bag and 50% off. And we did that for a long time. I'd stop in at least once a month, see if they had any little colors, because most of the way they sell the colors, other than maybe 6 or 7 of the most basic colors, which you can get in bags of 6,000 each, is they sell the bags of 1,000 each of a color. And they're, I want to say they're $4, $3.99 for the most part. So yeah, we'd wait and get like a 30% off coupon and go buy like 6 or 7 of those. But if you want to get into more colors, like we've gotten into, maybe not the 24 that Michael's or Joann's carries anymore, we've started ordering from just Perler.com.
Yeah. And
signing up on their website, you'll get an email once a week. And they've got, I'd say, at least one weekend a month. They're like, hey, it's our weekend sale, 40% off, 30% off if you order $70. And I want to say $70 or $75 also when they hit the free shipping. So I think we've done it 3 times and pretty much hit $100 every time. And we just keep track of, we got a list of like, oh, what do we need? What do we need? And of all the blessed things, right as we started doing this in 2018, moving into 2019, the PTA at school gave every teacher this little desktop organizer box. And it was like the gift on the day one returning to school, and it had like pencils and erasers and little bits of candy, and it was all in this lovely box. It was like 8.5 by 11, size of a piece of paper, but a plastic locked lid box that had 8 compartments in it. And I think about a month into the school year, I was like, wow, this would be great to start separating our Perler beads into. And we got 65 teachers at our school, so I emailed the lower school staff. I'm like, hey, I'm sure most of you don't need these. But hey, if you're not using, I don't need the stuff that's inside of it. But if you don't need what's inside, if you don't need that plastic box, and man, I got 20 of them. Like the next day,
wow,
my mailbox was overflowing, or somebody would walk by the room like, here you go. I don't need this. I was just going to throw it away anyway. So probably something we could have, I'm sure they picked up at like the dollar store or anything, but all of a sudden we had 20 of these boxes all split in 8 nice areas. And I swear to God, probably would fit 1,200 Perler beads, but each little area fits almost exactly 1,000. Wow. So we've gone through it, and every time they're organized now. Like this box has 8 different shades of blue, and this one's got all our black, whites, and grays. And yeah, I want to say definitely we're up to about 12 boxes of Perler beads, so 8 each. That's 96. We're nearing 100.
Yeah. Have you ever? Jay from Big Shark Gaming asks, how much does it cost to make them?
So. Yeah, each color, you get 1,000 for $4. So judging by that, you got a 29 by 29 board. For the most part, all of these are, under 900 because it doesn't take up at half the board between the sides and the top, and you're not making a perfect square. So I would say anywhere you're really using about $1 to $2 worth of Perler beads on each one. And
have you ever calculated the cost of all of projects you've worked on?
Well, I can easily say we've spent probably $400 on Perler beads over the years. Because I know for a fact we've spent close to 100 3 different times ordering from Perler.com. Yeah. And then, all the little stuff we've done on the side, like stopping and spending $2.50 at Michael's here or $5 there. Easily, that's been probably another 100. So probably 400. And I'm sure we're going to put that picture that I took today into the YouTube version, and I've already put it on Twitter and Reddit with all the projects. But what you see there is probably a third of what our family has done total.
Oh wow!
I think we've got almost as many Pokemon as we have Dragon Quest, and then my wife's done tons of Disney Princess, and gosh, there was something else she did at one point, and ended up. I think at one point she sold 20 Disney Princesses all at once to somebody online, and then had to make them all again in a frantic week. She's like, well, just in case somebody else buys them. I'm like, haven't you not sold any of those in like 6 months?
Nice.
Not a big deal, but
yeah,
we print out decoration ones too. In the Dragon Quest picture, I've got pictures of like Sylvando in a leprechaun hat and a bunch of little guys with
the Santa hats for Christmas.
The Santa hats. I've got Easter ones down there. We've done Valentine's Day.
Is that Independence Day sprites? I see
that these are with a little Uncle Sam hat on.
Yeah.
But we have a picture frame that has 6 like 4x6 photos that you could put in it, and for about the last 4 years, it's always had 6 Perler Bead things in it. Even my kids know they have to be exactly 16 Perler Beads wide, and I think we can go up to like 24 tall to fit in the size. So that's really skinny. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to find something that actually fits in there, but it works. And then we just put little hats on or whatever.
Nice. So any nightmare stories where you worked really hard on a project that just didn't pan out as you hoped?
Looking at the initial like golem, stone golem or something that's there, and the king cure slime, doing those early on, I think I came to realize shading really sucks. It looks horrible. These things were made to be an inch big on your old CRT TVs. Mm-hmm. So having like 10 different shades of green to make up the king cure slime, it all blended together. It looked really nice. And when you try to do it pixel perfect, my king cure slime looks like a freaking map with different colors. He looks like he might as well be a spot slime with splotches all over him. Yeah. And I'm like, damn it, I should have just done him pure green because it looks gross. And I learned that for some other ones. Like, you know what, you're going to be holding this. You're actually going to see every pixel. Mm-hmm. Some of these look way better 3 feet away from you than standing there looking at it close up.
Now, is it a factor of not having like the right color for the shading, or is just in general?
It's a little bit that, and a little bit, when you build these and you hold them 12 inches from your face, you see every pixel really closely, and it's like, oh. Whereas, like I said, if it was on TV, you're sitting 4 feet, 5 feet away from your screen, and again, these were on old CRT TVs where they all blurred together, so it was a nice shading effect for that side of his face or something. But when you look at every single pixel, it's like, no, that just looks weird.
All right, fair enough.
So I've had to learn to. Okay, I don't need to make this pixel perfect. Like, I'll do the outline, but I'm just going to fill this in one way, fill that out the other. Yeah. And then, luckily, haven't had too many accidents dropping these, but good old Dragon Lord got melted together today, and we're recording September 30th. I want to say I did him in July, along with Malroth and Hargon, and I totally whacked him into the corner of the kitchen cabinet when we were getting ready to iron them in early August, and he sat in my garage for a month until I finally fixed him, which took about an hour and a half, and then he sat there almost another month until today. I was like, we got to iron these together. I want to get this picture. He's the last Dragon Quest one to get on there, so we've had horror stories of other ones getting dropped and whatever, but usually I do pretty good with my Dragon Quest ones.
Yeah, I can just imagine the slow motion, like the sweats. You're going, no.
Just picking that up and moving it place to place, or there's a couple in here that are like missing a pixel here or there on the edge, because when we make these, we line them up on kind of like the bar stool area of our kitchen, which we don't really use. And, the cat goes up there sometimes, steps on it, and like gets 1 or 2 pieces off. Or if we don't notice that, because we'll wait until we have like 8 or 10 things to iron together, since we make a whole process out of it, where we don't like make 3, iron them. We're like, at this point, we've got like 20 little small plates and 5 big ones, and like, if we don't have 10 things to iron together, it's not worth our time.
Yeah. What in your opinion would be the most challenging 2D sprite you'd like to build?
I want to start doing more of the bosses. Like Zoma looks ridiculous. I don't, like I said, the battle sprites of just normal enemies are huge. I did that Dragon Quest 1 Scorpion, and he's as big as the Hargon that I have. Wow. And so bigger sprites like Malroth, I had to shrink him down. I remember taking pictures and putting it on the Den Discord the night I was making it. And Yangus is like, man, those are really skinny arms. I'm like, yeah, when I take a picture, again, kind of like taking a step back, yeah, those are really skinny arms. I'm not going to make them bigger. Holy crap, this is not going to fit anymore. But Zoma and Malroth was, like I said, I had to bring the wings in. He was okay. Zoma's like got just so much detail on him. I would love to do more of the bosses, but they're gonna. I have to shrink them down in my mind as I do it, and they're much more detailed than like Green Grandpa Slime with a mustache was for doing that. So yeah, any special. I haven't even looked up like boss sprites from the DS remakes. Those things would probably be even more detailed down at the pixel level.
Yeah. So do you have any future Dragon Quest projects in mind?
So looking at these today, do you notice that I have a game that I have none of?
Let me quickly look. You got 7, you got 8, 6, 5. Dragon Quest 3.
So yeah, all I've got for 3. If you look over there, because these are in order. If you look at the top left,
that's true. The wizard and the mage.
I got the wizard
classes. Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
Both male and female.
So that is my goal. I want to get all of the DS remake sprites of male and female of all the classes in Dragon Quest 3. I did do Erdrick at one point, and then I sold it to Drippy.
Nice.
At one point, I had Erdrick printed out, but he asked me to make him the NES sprites of his favorite Dragon Quest 3 party, and I did it. And
that's a good idea.
Yep. So he wanted his 4-person party, and if you're looking at this image, I actually have the warrior down there, and I think that's Erdrick down there. Both of those like got messed up, and I had to redo them. So those are my bad copies that I didn't send to him. But I had I think it was when I was doing the DS version of Erdrick that he messaged me. He's like, I really like that. I'll buy that. Would you sell me that for a couple bucks? I was like, yeah. And then he's like, could you do the rest of the party? Could you do the whole party in like NES sprite? And I'm like, NES sprite, that'll take me. Those are like 20-minute builds each. That's great. Yeah. Because they're about 3 colors and about 15 by 15 pixels, whereas I think I was using Super Nintendo graphics it'll take me 30 to an hour each. But I want to do that, and I don't have anybody from Dragon Quest 9 at all.
Oh, okay.
Completely missing 9, so.
Yeah, so that must be hard to find the 2D pixel art.
Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, I just got to pick people, because everybody could customize their own guy, so whatever. There's a million different people that you can make. So I should probably just do like Stella and some of the big NPCs. That'd probably be the easiest thing to do. Kind of like I did in 10, because it's, let me just get one of each race and throw them in there. But yeah, I would like to do Dragon Quest 3 and Dragon Quest 9.
Awesome. Two excellent games.
Yeah.
So do you have any what else do you make other than Dragon Quest Perler? You mentioned Pokemon.
Oh yeah, my kids and my oldest and my second oldest is getting close to doing it. He can kind of do it pixel perfect, like have it on. I'll set up his what is it? Just set up either my laptop or his iPad, and if Pokemon, there's billions of them out there. I've seen pictures of people who have like all 500 Pokemon up to Gen 4. And they just have on the floor all 500 of them at once. And so those are really easy. There's even like design sheets that you could almost print out for those people have made just because they're so popular. There's people just, hey, here you go. And like it just looks like a zoomed in sprite. And Pokemon, I found out it's really easy. I was talking about how the overworld sprites for Dragon Quest is great. Pokemon, any of them that are in a mystery dungeon game, the mystery dungeon sprites are perfectly sized to do this. Nice. But even then, I mean, at this point, you can just Google, Perler Bead, Zamazenta from Sword and Shield. That's only 3D, and somebody's made it, and it looks great, and whatever. So my kids will make them based on that. They got big into shinies a year ago, so now they're like going back and making the shiny versions of almost everything that we have. So just today we were ironing together shiny, Abracadabra and Alakazam, I believe, all 3 of them. So, but 2 other ones that I've took hours and hours to research and find is I love the Kaseki's games. The newest one, Trails to Zero, just came out. Trails in the Sky, Trails of Cold Steel. Now, all of these are way past pixel versions. Yeah. So I dug for an hour one day and eventually found Falcom selling keychains of pixelated versions of all their characters.
Oh, wow.
And grabbed all the images from theirs, and I built 2 of them. It was last Christmas, I remember, because I remember I built a Christmas hat separate and put it on them and put a picture on the Kaseki Reddit, like, Merry Christmas from Lloyd and Kevin. Those were fun. And then a year and a half ago, and I got to get back to playing this, but Yakuza Like a Dragon. Again, 3D game. It's not even out on Switch because it's PS4 and above graphics. It's great, but kind of like how Dragon Quest, the loading screen for the past 5-10 years on PS4 and whatever, they've always got a little slime hopping or an hourglass moving or something in the bottom corner of the screen going. For that game, the loading screen had sprites of the characters there, and it was, depending on how many characters you have in your party, as you go through the story, you get more party members, the number of sprites would go. At the beginning, like, you're starting and the loading screen would just be your one main guy, Ichiban, like there, and it's just a walking animation of him, and then as you get farther on, there's the other ones. And my God, the damn problem with it is, when you take a screenshot on Switch, it puts like copyright Nintendo, whatever, in the corner.
Yeah.
So for the PS4 version of that game, you take that screenshot, and it's the same thing with the copyright Sony, blah, 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 and it goes right over the damn pixels. So, and I've never made it more than 10 hours in the game. I've got 3 party members. So I was like, oh, man, where can I find these all? And I finally tracked someone down who was able to get me a clean shot, and I do have a folder with those in it. So one day,
So you didn't
as I
try
keep
to
playing,
just take a photo of the screen? Kind of a bootleg way.
Yeah, I mean, it's high res. It probably would have worked.
Yeah.
I just thought it was probably out there. I'm like, oh, somebody out there. I'll join the Yakuza, whatever. Before I go that far, somebody's got to have it, and nobody had it. Like,
yeah.
That's
funny.
If you talk about, not a lot of people are doing Perler Beads of Dragon Quest. Well, you take a series like Yakuza that doesn't have pixels at all because it's always been on like PS2, PS3, PS4. And trying to find someone who's doing that was, that's damn near impossible.
Yeah, I actually had a little trouble finding Bub and Bob from Bubble Bobble because I was going to do that with my son. So we got really big into playing that over the summer. But every kind of pixel art that I found for that, it seemed kind of blurry when you blow it up to like look at the actual pixels. So it was kind of a challenge in that way. But yeah, a lot of it you're at the mercy of is there existing art for it.
Yeah, because I'm definitely not good enough to make a person from scratch and all that stuff. I got pointed out to me multiple times today that I have not done Mori from Dragon Quest VIII. I've got the original 4. I've got Red, but I don't have Mori. And I'm like, there's no pixel version of him. And
as you tweeted earlier, you said, you put
who's missing.
Who's missing? You're starting to get challenges now.
Oh man, I haven't checked in. After I saw some jackass wanted me to do the Behemoths, I was like, no.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah, I know.
But our resident Dragon Quest fan from South America, Joel from at Snake_River_90 had asked for a slime night. So that's actually
what?
That's actually one that I see missing.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I actually downloaded one today because I was trying to look on, again, DeviantArt, and I was looking for pixel art of one, and I typed in Dragon Quest pixel art, and randomly found a picture with like 20 different sprites on it. 19 of them aren't Dragon Quest, but one of them is a slime knight, and it's kind of turned and the slime's smiling a little bit bigger than normal, but I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like counting the pixels. I'm like, that's a perfect one, because that's one that I just haven't found. There should be a good one out there, like a walking one from Dragon Quest V. I just haven't made that yet, but I was like, oh my God, now I got 2 options that I should be able to do. Like, as a party member, there's probably a detailed enough overworld sprite for having a slime knight in the party for 5 or 6.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make much sense to do every instance of a step as you get more.
No.
The animation gets more complex.
There's a lot.
And Dilophosaur 13 had asked for a green dragon, citing a blue one just isn't the same. This is true.
The blue one's so much cooler.
Then you have to make red.
No, that's true.
You gotta finish out the trilogy.
Who do I gotta do? Oh, red and green.
Yeah,
good old
then you gotta do the
green dragon. Yeah,
redesigned Dragon Quest IV dragons that are kind of standing upright.
Oh yeah, they are definitely different.
Well, anything else that you wanted to say about the Perler Bead projects?
No, I think we've already been chatting for about as long as it would take me to make one of these anyway.
Yeah, have you been working on one while we've been talking? This is a missed opportunity, if not.
I was going to say that's way too many things to manage.
Yeah, all right.
Those damn beads would be all over the place.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, that's it for this episode of Slime Time. Thank you for joining, Platty.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me and you. You know where you can't join us, though? Of course, you can't join us on Patreon.
This
You
is true.
can't join us on Patreon. We're not there. We're not out to half-inch your hard-earned money when we can offer you all this quality content about the game series we know and love for free. If you do have any money, though, that's just completely burning a hole in your wallet, pouch, bottomless bag, or searchable wall sack, and you'd like to donate anything to a website that's been supporting Dragon Quest fans for over 20 years, go ahead, stop by the Dragon's Den at www.woodus.com/den. Click on support this site. Woodus has been there owning and maintaining the Dragon's Den fan site for decades. He personally edits all the YouTube versions of our podcasts, which you may want to check out for this one with a bunch of pictures of my stuff. And he fully appreciates any donations to help him keep the servers running.
And the Dragon's Den website also features an Amazon affiliate link. If you click the link and then make a purchase, a small fraction of the sale will go to support the Den, and it doesn't cost you anything.
If you want to advertise with us, feel free to reach out to us at slimetimepodcast@gmail.com.
This episode is brought to you by Circus Peanuts, that orange peanut banana flavored treat with the consistency of used chewing gum and styrofoam. I bet you can't eat just one.
I bet you don't want to. But, if you do, go right ahead. And also, if you'd like to comment or have some questions for us, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at the same handle at DQ Slime Time.
Consider joining in tons of DQ discussions on the Dragon's Den forums, one of the few remaining forums still around. Find it from the Dragon's Den main page at woodus.com/forums. And you can also find all of us and other rabid Dragon Quest fans on the Dragon Questers Facebook group.
Or come out or come hang out with us and tons of other hardcore Dragon Quest super fans on the officially unofficial Dragon's Den Discord server.
We'd like to thank everyone that made this possible, like Woodus, for support of the series and this podcast and keeping the Dragon's Den's lights on for decades. Thanks to Amanda Lepre and the Descendants of Erdrick for allowing us to use their music for our podcast. Descendants of Erdrick is a video game tribute band from Austin, Texas. Check them out in their album Advent at www.descendantsoferdrick.com or on Twitter at @doferdrick, and check out Amanda Lepre streaming on Twitch.
Our thanks to Dwayne Bullock, our wonderful graphic artist and Dragon Quest fan, for making the awesome artwork cover for this podcast. Dwayne was on the original iteration of the Slime Time podcast, and he's been on multiple of our episodes. You can check out more of his work at Dwayne Art on Instagram or his website, dwaynebullockart.bigcartel.com. Also, we've got T-shirts for sale over on the Dragon's Den website with some of his artwork on it.
Please like, subscribe, and write a review for our podcast. If you're looking for more Dragon Quest Slime Time, check out our earlier episodes on Dragon's Den, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Audible, YouTube, and more. And check out our brothers and sisters in arms over at the Slime Time Side Quest and Tactfully Die podcasts. Their latest episodes are available now.
Bye, everyone.
Dragon Quest Slime Time, sliming off.